Hello everyone and welcome to another Muffin video. Before we dive in here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell and drop a like on the video too if you're enjoying the content. Don't forget to join our Discord server as well if you're not already there. The link is in the description down below. We've also activated our channel membership which comes with all kinds of perks, so check that out if you're interested in joining. And speaking of channel membership, I do want to take a moment to give a special shout out to our current members. So thanks to all of you, and I hope you're enjoying the benefits. And finally, a reminder that all comments on every video will be automatically entered into our weekly giveaways. Winners will be randomly selected every Monday. So good luck, and let's get this started. Alright, so in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the topic of party-wide buffs. Now, there are a number of skills in the game that actually exist not only to buff your own damage, but also exist to buff your party's damage. And using these skills carefully in the right situations can actually lead to a much higher overall damage output for the party. Now, most of the cases where you are going to be using these party-wide skills is actually just going to be Dragon. The reason is because it is pretty much the only place where you will be able to justify your own DPS loss in order to supercharge the DPS increase of the rest of the party. Now, there are definitely some exceptions to this, but generally speaking, if there was one place where you would use these skills the most, it would be Dragon. And knowing about this can actually be quite important for you, because there are going to be times where you enter the Dragon and you're not the highest DPS in the group. And in situations like that, it actually can be more worthwhile to get more rewards for yourself to run one of these party buffs. Now, the reason for this is, don't forget, Dragon gives you more rewards the more damage your party deals to it. So if your own personal damage is reduced a little bit, but in exchange you supercharge a, for example, whale DPS or 2 or 3 other strong DPS, then that will overall benefit the rewards you get, because your party will deal more damage even if you personally did less of that overall damage. That's the point. You're not penalized for your individual lack of damage. Everyone who is in the party gets the same rewards, which is really why it's important to keep these in mind. And not, I think an important misconception, and I've seen it's not that common, but there are some people who think this, like, oh, they want me to run the party-wide buffs. Yeah, my DPS sucks. But actually, it's because that personal DPS loss, like I said, does benefit the whole party. Now, the question of party buffs a lot of times asked is, well, what party buffs are there? Which classes even have a party buff? And do the different class effects stack? So let's take a look now at these different party buff skills. And there are basically 3 party-wide skills, and then one that are class-specific, and then 1 general that anyone can equip. So the first one is going to be from the the Shadow Lash class. So the Shadow Lash class has the first party-wide buff, and this one is called the Smoke Screen Shadow. Upon casting, increase the crit rate of all allies by 5%. And all skill damage. Now, of course, these numbers go up when you have them equipped on your tactical skills. I'll show that quickly here because I am playing a Nightweaver, so I can show you this. And the same applies to all the other skills as well. If I'm not blind, I will quickly find Smokescreen. You can see here this actually, at a high level, increases crit rate by 8% and all skill damage by 150. Plus, you can see it further increases my own crit rate by a further 7%. So keep in mind that the numbers we're looking at in these screenshots are just the base level of those skills, and they do get quite a lot more percentages and skill damage increase as you level them up. So Smoke Screen Shadow, the Shadow Lash party buff is 1. Now the second is going to be Fury Crystal. Fury Crystal is a pretty important one, and it is going to be part of the Mage skill set. So Fury Crystal belongs to Scholars. I say mages, but I mean Scholars. And this one is very good. As you can see, it increases your attack of all allies by a large percentage and all skill damage as well. Now, all of the 3 party buffs increase this skill damage as a secondary effect, but they all have different primary effects. So, as we saw, Smokescreen is crit rate, Fury Crystal now we see is attack and skill damage, and the third one will be a slightly different stat as well. So this is quite a lot of attack to get a nice buff from, and as we progress further into the game, Fury Crystal is actually going to scale quite nicely as our base attack pool increases and increases and increases. So the third party buff is going to be part of the Archer class, the Wayfarer. So the Wayfarer party buff is going to be Primal Roar. Primal Roar. And you can see here, upon casting, increase haste for all allies and skill damage, and further increase your own haste by 5% for the duration. So this is another very, very good one. They're all good, to be honest. Crit rate, very useful. Increasing your attack, very useful. And increasing your haste, extremely useful. So if you can imagine, if you have a party where you have 1 Shadowlash, 1 Scholar, and 1 Wayfarer, each of them running their 1 party-wide buff, if you cast all 3 together, do the effects of the 3 different class buffs stack? The answer is yes. Yes, they do. That means effectively, if you're a DPS with 3 of those buffs on, you'll be dealing 8% more crit rate. You'll have 8% more crit rate. You'll have 8% more haste, and you'll have 8% more attack, and you'll deal 450 more skill damage. Now, obviously, that 450 skill damage might not sound like a lot, but that is pre-calculation. So that's a very big consideration. Now, there is, of course, the 4th and final buff, which always has to be mentioned. I actually made an entire video about it, and that's going to be Gremlin Whispers. Gremlin can be equipped by anyone, and because the Swordbearer and the Acolyte do not have a party-wide buff. These are the only 2 classes that do not have a party-wide buff. It is only the 3 DPS that have a party-wide buff. And you can see it indicated by the blue party-wide descriptor next to the skill to know that that is a skill that affects all players in the party, not just yourself. So with all of this information, what does it really mean? It means if you're someone who's trying to push the ultimate DPS in Dragon, you're going to want to assemble a party that has Smokescreen Shadow on a Shadowlash, who's actually going to run it, a Scholar in your party who's going to run Fury Crystal, and a Wayfarer in your party who's going to run Primal Roar. Then you also want to have your healer run Gremlin Whispers, and get this, you can actually run 2 additional sets of Gremlin Whispers. So 2 of the 3 DPS who are already buffing should also, or can also rather, run Gremlin Whispers. And what this means is that, so Gremlin Whispers has a 30-second cooldown and a 10-second duration. So if the first person casts Gremlin Whispers on auto, the second person casts it on manual, and then the third person also casts it on manual, you can daisy chain the gremlins together to have complete coverage of Gremlin Whispers through the whole fight, the whole dragon fight. That means the boss will have permanent defense reduction for the entire time you're fighting. That is huge for damage output. And I'll show you, just so you see, out of curiosity, I'm just going to make a quick mercenary party so you can see if you're someone who's responsible for casting Gremlin Whispers. I'm just going to quickly change one of my skills here to Gremlin, because it's important you see this. I'm going to hide these buffs here quickly. Now take a look at this, because this is how you know when you should cast Gremlin if you're on manual and trying not to let it overlap, because you can overlap, which has no effect. So I'm going to cast Gremlin Whispers and take a look at the boss's HP bar. Boom. So all of a sudden, you can see here, it disappeared for a second because there were too many debuffs on the boss, but there it is. This blue icon on the left side that you saw there for a second, that belongs to Gremlin Whispers. And so after the opening of the battle is over and all these husky opening attacks disappear, then you'll be able to always see on the left-hand side of the buff bar this Gremlin Whispers icon. I'll wait for the huskies to go away and then I'll cast it again. And then you can really see it. So there it is, and it's going to count down for 10 seconds. And so if you're one of the people casting Gremlin, you got to look and see, when you see this disappear, Now you can cast it, and then you'll get another 10 seconds, and then the third person can cast it, and they'll get another 10 seconds. So there's no ICD. There's a concept of internal cooldown which exists in some other games, which is that when you have a skill, it doesn't matter who casts it, it's not going to take effect until the cooldown of the first skill is finished. That doesn't exist in this game. So if you have 3 people casting Gremlin Whispers and they cast them one after the other like that in a chain, you're going to have effectively full coverage of Gremlin Whispers. So if you're maybe a pumper who's looking to absolutely maximize your damage, or if you find yourself in a party with someone who is much stronger than you or even a little bit stronger than you, it is oftentimes very, very worth it to run your party-wide buff in order to juice up the party's damage. And if you're looking to set the ultimate leaderboard records, then you are going to need a fully stacked party with Smokescreen Shadow, Fury Crystal, Primal Roar, and 3 people running Gremlin Whispers. If you're able to get a party with an effective use of those skills, you will be setting the highest damage leaderboard scores you possibly can in the game. So that's how this overall system works. I hope that you learned something new today and know about the importance of these party-wide buffs, and just view it from the point of view that self-sacrifice in this situation oftentimes benefits your overall rewards from getting a very high DPS even higher, which means more damage dealt to the dragon and more rewards for you. So there you have it. Hope you found this video informative. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.